Okay, so you want to own a trash empire. Fleets of trucks rolling out before sunrise, contracts with the city, contracts with the county, contracts with every apartment complex, every strip mall, every hospital, every school in a 50-mile radius. Every single day, people throw things away. Doesn't matter if the economy is booming, doesn't matter if the stock market is crashing, doesn't matter if there's a recession, a pandemic, a war. People still make trash. Every single day. You own the trucks, you own the routes, you own the contracts, and every month, without fail, the checks roll in. Sounds simple. It is not simple. Before we talk about the money, we need to talk about what a trash business actually is, because most people picture one thing, the truck, and the truck is the least interesting part of this story. There are 4 types of operators in this industry, and they are not the same business. Residential collection is what you picture. The truck that comes to your house on Tuesday. Low margin, high volume, brutally competitive. Commercial collection is the dumpster behind the restaurant, the compactor behind the grocery store. Better margins, longer contracts, still competitive. Industrial is the big roll-off containers at construction sites, demolition projects, large-scale cleanouts. Higher ticket, more variable. And then there's the landfill. The landfill is a different business entirely. And the reason this matters, the reason you need to understand which of these you are actually running, is that the economics depend entirely on where you sit in that chain. The truck is how you get started. The landfill is how you get rich. Nobody tells you this when they picture owning a trash company, but the first thing that will humble you is the price of a truck. A new rear loader, the standard residential garbage truck, runs between $250,000 and $350,000. A side loader, the automated kind with the mechanical arm, is closer to $300,000 to $400,000. A front loader for commercial dumpsters? Same range. And you don't start with one truck. You can't build a route with one truck. A small, legitimate operation needs a minimum of 3 to 5 vehicles just to cover a single service area. That's before you've picked up a single bag of garbage. Then there's maintenance. A garbage truck runs hard. It stops and starts hundreds of times a day. The hydraulic systems, the compaction mechanisms, the lift arms, they wear out. Industry operators budget 15 to 20% of a truck's value per year just in maintenance and repairs. On a $300,000 truck, that's $45,000 to $60,000 a year per truck. And when a truck breaks down mid-route, you don't get to skip the route. You either fix it fast, rent a replacement, or you miss pickups. And missed pickups mean angry customers, contract violations, and in municipal contracts, financial penalties. The trucks are not an asset. The trucks are a liability that you manage. Here's something the industry doesn't advertise. The routes are everything, and the routes are almost impossible to get. In most cities, residential waste collection is a municipal contract. The city puts it out to bid every 5 to 10 years. The big operators, Waste Management, Republic Services, GFL Environmental, have entire departments dedicated to winning those bids. They have relationships. They have pricing power. They can afford to underbid a contract for 2 years just to lock out a competitor. You, as a new operator, are not competing with those companies for a city contract. You are not. That is not a realistic starting point. Where small operators actually build businesses is in the commercial and industrial space. The dumpsters, the roll-offs, the niche accounts that the big players don't prioritize. A small construction company, a local restaurant group, a property management firm with 20 apartment complexes. These accounts are winnable, but they are also fragile. Commercial customers switch providers constantly. Price is almost always the deciding factor. And the moment a larger competitor decides they want your accounts, they can undercut you on price for 6 months and absorb the loss. You cannot. The route is not just a list of addresses. The route is a relationship. And relationships take years to build and minutes to lose. The tipping fee trap. Here is the cost that breaks most small operators, and almost nobody talks about it before they get into this business. When your truck is full, you have to go somewhere. That somewhere is a transfer station or a landfill, and they charge you to dump. It's called a tipping fee. The national average tipping fee is roughly $55 to $65 per ton. In high-cost states, California, New York, Massachusetts, it can run $100 to $150 per ton or higher. A residential garbage truck holds about 10 to 14 tons per load. If your truck makes 2 runs a day, you're paying $1,100 to $1,800 in tipping fees. Per truck. Per day. Now multiply that across your fleet. Multiply that across 250 operating days a year. That number gets very large, very fast. And here's the part that makes it worse. You don't control the tipping fee. The landfill sets it. If the landfill raises its rates, and they do, regularly, your operating costs go up overnight. Your customer contracts don't automatically adjust, your margins compress, and there is nothing you can do about it because you need somewhere to put the trash, unless you own the landfill. The waste industry is one of the most heavily regulated industries in the United States, and the compliance costs are not small. Every truck driver needs a commercial driver's license with specific endorsements. Training, testing, and licensing take time and money. Driver turnover in this industry is high. The work is physically demanding, the hours start before dawn, and the pay, while decent, is not exceptional. Recruiting and retaining drivers is a constant operational challenge. Then there's environmental compliance. If you operate a transfer station or a landfill, you are dealing with the EPA, state environmental agencies, local zoning boards, and a stack of permits that can take years to obtain and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain. Landfill gas, leachate management, groundwater monitoring. These are not optional line items. They are legal requirements. And violations carry fines that can reach into the millions. The regulatory burden alone is why most small operators never move beyond collection. The moment you try to own the infrastructure, the transfer station, the landfill, you enter a different world entirely. So where does the real money actually come from in this industry? Not the trucks, not the routes, not the residential contracts. The money is in vertical integration. Waste Management didn't become a $70 billion company by running garbage trucks. They became a $70 billion company by owning landfills. By the time your trash reaches a waste management facility, they have already collected a fee to pick it up, a fee to transport it, and a fee to dispose of it. Every step of the chain generates revenue, and they own every step. A landfill, once permitted and operational, is essentially a regulated monopoly. Nobody is building a new landfill next door to yours. The permitting process alone takes a decade. The capital cost runs into the hundreds of millions. And once you have it, every hauler in your region, including your competitors, has to pay you to use it. That's the business. The trucks are the front door. The landfill is the vault. There's also a second revenue stream that most people never consider: recycling and materials recovery. When waste is sorted at a materials recovery facility, AMRF, the recyclable commodities have real market value: cardboard, aluminum, certain plastics. When commodity prices are high, a well-run recycling operation generates meaningful revenue on top of the collection fees. When commodity prices crash, as they did when China stopped accepting foreign recyclables in 2018, that revenue disappears overnight, and the cost of processing recyclables can actually exceed their market value. The operators who survived that shift were the ones who had diversified enough that recycling was a bonus, not a lifeline. Consider what happened to the regional haulers across the United States through the 1990s and 2000s. Hundreds of family-owned waste companies had built solid, profitable businesses over decades. They had the routes, they had the customers, they had the trucks. What they didn't have was the landfill. When Waste Management and Allied Waste began their aggressive acquisition campaigns, they didn't just buy competitors, they bought landfills. And once they controlled the disposal infrastructure in a region, the economics for every independent hauler in that region changed permanently. The tipping fees went up. The independent operators' margins went down. And one by one, the regional players either sold to the consolidators or went out of business. The ones who survived, the ones who are still independent today, are the operators who either found a niche the big players didn't want or who had the foresight to acquire their own disposal infrastructure before the window closed. The lesson is not that the trash business is bad. The lesson is that in this industry, whoever controls the disposal controls everything downstream. The trash business is real. The demand is real. The cash flow is real. But the picture people have, buy some trucks, win some contracts, print money, that picture is missing the most important part of the story. The collection business is a grind. Thin margins, high capital costs, brutal competition from operators who have been doing this for 50 years and have infrastructure you can't replicate. The real wealth in this industry is built slowly, through vertical integration, through owning the infrastructure that everyone else depends on, and through surviving long enough to be in the right position when consolidation comes. The trash doesn't care about the economy. It doesn't care about interest rates or inflation or what the Fed is doing. It just keeps coming. The question is whether you own the truck that picks it up or the ground it ends up in, because one of those is a job, and the other one is an empire. If you want to understand the real economics behind businesses that look simple from the outside, subscribe. Every week we break down an industry the same way, past the surface, past the pitch, down to the actual numbers. And if there's a business you want us to take apart next, drop it in the comments.